Now let's get a look at the bigger picture. Pete Najarian's here, co-owner Market Rebellion. Pete, how have you been? I haven't seen you in so long. How are you feeling about the market? I mean, you didn't expect the S&P 500 to be up nearly 20% in early July, did you?
No way. I did not expect that, and especially with the numbers. But as was just been said, it's been incredible just the read through. I mean, the read through CPI was something that made a lot of sense. This one just shows you that it might make some sense, but the reaction is completely different than most people probably would have been expecting. And as we kick off the earnings season, you guys are just talking about the banks. I love what these big banks are doing. The investment banking side, to me, is the most important. That's the key element that we are looking at right now, because that has been absolutely extraordinary. We've been talking about M&A. The M&A so far in 2024 is off the charts, and all those that are very heavily weighted towards that. JP Morgan's one of them, Citi's another one. Next week, we got Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. I think that we're going to hear even more about how well these banks are doing, or financials are doing, but obviously, there are some little things here and there that folks are going to have to deal with. Look at where Goldman Sachs started the year, where it is right now. Look at JP Morgan, where it started the year and where it is right now. So there is a bit of a pause. JP Morgan was up and it pulled back a little bit. I'm not surprised to see that it's actually starting to move right back towards those highs.
You do your stock picking. Do you put a bank in there? Is there a bank that you pick in there?
Well, the one that I think makes the most sense right now, and I've thought about this for a while, if you go back to October of last year, at the very end of October, Citibank was trading at about 38. I know they're going through a whole bunch of different changes, and they're doing a lot of things, but oftentimes when we talk about these financials, we don't really look at the PE. We look at the price to the book. And when I look at Citi and the book value is 99, and here it is trading, call it 64, you get up towards 66 today. I think this is a name that still has plenty of room in front of it. Now, it doesn't mean it's the best bank, but I think when you look at valuation level based upon the price to book, I think Citi has plenty of room to the upside to get up there. And there are names like Goldman Sachs, they're trading at a little bit of a premium. You look at JP Morgan trading at a bit of a premium. So it seems like it makes some sense for that pause side there. But all that being said, I think all of these banks, anybody who's involved heavily in investment banking right now, I think they're doing very, very well.
Yeah, you noted the moves that we've been seeing in yields. In fact, with the inversion of the yield curve, we're at the narrowest inverted gap since January. What does that tell you?
Well, you know, the one thing that I'm always looking at, to be honest with you, Nicole, is I just like to look at where the 10-year itself is trading. And obviously the reactions that we see, and that was talked by Kevin just a second ago, but we were at a 4.48 literally not too many weeks ago, and here we are now trading at 4.19. That says a lot to me, and I think that's been part of the fuel that we are seeing in the NASDAQ. Obviously, yesterday wasn't one of those great days, but we have seemed to have gone to a new record high. It feels like every day. I know it's 37 or 38 times this year, but it seems as if they just continue to go back a little bit higher. There are some pullbacks. They make a lot of sense, but you know, you look, matter of fact, yesterday, and you look at the SMH, pulling back 2.5%, 3.5%, something like that. But here we are again, just absolutely sprinting to the upside, AI being the key.
Yeah, you're looking at commodities, you have crude and uranium. Are there picks and money to be made there?
I sure think so. I think when you talk about some of those in the commodity space, I mean, one of them that stands out to me in the energy space, uranium, and you talk about nuclear, and actually the president himself, President Biden, which surprises me a little bit, is very interested in starting to expand once again for nuclear. It makes a lot of sense. It's extremely clean. But I think when you look at that, I immediately go to Cameco, CCJ. That's a name that I think still has plenty of room to the upside, Nicole. I actually have been watching this name for a while. I've traded in, I've traded out of it multiple times. It doesn't just go straight up, but it certainly has plenty of room, and I think there are reasons why it might start moving again, because we've seen a lot of activity in the options that indicate that maybe there's a little bit of a jump coming up in the not-too-distant future. So I'm willing to ride along with CCJ. I think it's one of those names that is the name when we're talking about nuclear energy. So I think from that perspective, that would be my favorite.
Yeah, I've been hearing more and more about Cameco lately. So I think you're on the right track, right? As you look at some of these names here, at least as far as chatter, right, and interest in the stock. When you talk about energy, do you buy any of the energy names? Because right now oil's at 82.47 the barrel.
It's been awful sticky up above 80, right? I mean, this has been staying above 80 for about the last, I don't know, nearly a month or so. So I think that's interesting. I like that. And I think there are names in the space. I like some of the big names still. I think the Chevrons and the Exxons can do pretty well. But I also like some of the service names. I think we're seeing a lot more behind the scenes. And if you take a look at what's going on in the energy space, you look at nat gas, seems a little bit cheap right now. But then I look over at the price of crude, and it's holding above 80, and it's actually gotten up towards 83, 84, pulls back just a little bit. And I like the stickiness that we are seeing right now. So I think there are some names within the service world as well. I like Occidental. Obviously, anytime Warren Buffett's going to make the kind of investment that he's been making in that name, I think that's a good guy to follow along with as well. But I think there are some other names out there that are a little bit smaller names like Devon and a few others in the service world that I think could work out pretty well as well.
As you mentioned Buffett, you saw Berkshire Hathaway new high today, and Buffett's it's going to see a record close today, and Buffett's 133 billion. Not bad, right?
It's not so bad. It seems like he hasn't lost too much speed on the fastball, as people like to say in the sports world. So I love what we hear from him. Obviously, it's a different world now for Berkshire than it was. It's just Warren now with the rest outside of there, but I love what they're doing. I've been watching very closely some of the investments that they've been making over time. I think that's always a good thing to do, to try to follow along in some way if you can. And certainly one of the things I love about Warren Buffett, people don't like to talk about it, or he doesn't like to talk about it, but he loves the options world. He is in options all the time, probably one of the largest option traders in the world. So me being an options guy, of course, I have to listen to the Buffett man and listen to what he has to say and how he's positioning into many of these stocks.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. A lot of people don't necessarily know that. Finally, the Fed. Do you think the Fed's credibility is intact? Do you think they can make a horrible mistake here in the next few months? What do you think they should do?
Well, it seems like there's been a little bit of a change now for Powell. Obviously, he spoke a couple times this week, and we always listen. I think that's always must listen to or watch or whatever. And I think it's pretty incredible how they've gotten fairly close. But do they want to continue to wait? Are they going to be stubborn? And I think the answer is right in front of us right now. You look over at the CME tool, it had been about 72% chance that they were going to have a cut in September. Well, now that's jumped up to about 82. It's been as high as 88. It's been fluctuating around a little bit. And I think a lot of that has to do with how long can they wait? And I think that's part of what we're seeing here. Now, will that cause some movement in the market that might be unexpected? Maybe. But I think the reality is most of us are probably looking at this and saying, hey, look, at some point we're going to see a cut. And here this makes a lot of sense in September. You can't get too close to the elections, I don't think. This is getting pretty close to that level, but I still think it is something that's going to happen in September.
Yeah, understood. You can make sports references all you want. You've earned that right, for sure. Pete Najarian, no doubt. Market Rebellion. Pete, thanks. Great to see you. Have a nice weekend.
Have a great weekend yourself. Take care.
Thank you.